I am entirely, honestly, very thrilled to welcome back today someone I must admit to being quite in awe of, even if it's going to make Sandra blush, because she's a very remarkable, wise, knowledgeable, and lovely lady, really dedicated to empowering others through natural therapies. She's a homeopath, she's a Reiki teacher, and a year ago, she fulfilled her lifelong dream to found her own clinic. And I am totally in awe of people who take these huge steps because their mission and their vision is so big, but they really take the action. So The Hague now boasts a beautiful natural health center, all thanks to Sandra. So welcome, Sandra. Sorry for overwhelming you with such a grandiose introduction. It really comes
Thank you.
straight from the heart. But before we get into talking about the why and the how that got you to actually where you stand today, I'd like to invite you to share a little bit on your own terms. How did you get to be where you are right now in your life?
It's so funny. It's just like so many different paths that lead you to, and when you look back, you're like, oh, this job taught me this, and then this job
Yeah.
contributed this, and then you learn all these different skills along the way. And actually, it's only looking back, which is the nice thing
Yes,
about getting older, that you actually see, oh,
there
I
was a pattern, right?
exactly. There was a pattern that was kind of leading you to what all the skills you've gathered along the way to become, an entrepreneur, which I never even really thought of being an entrepreneur, but it just seems like now I've been doing it forever and it hasn't been that long.
Right, right. And you've
Uh,
learned a lot on the way. But so, I mean, you'd always been interested in natural health, right? That was part of your business life for a long time.
it has been because when I was a little girl, my grandmother used to take me to a curandera. I think I might have mentioned this, but I don't remember if I did. But I was always kind of like, okay, grandma, I need to go to the real doctor now. And like,
Yeah.
but it's always been there, a part of me,
So a curandera is what, a natural
It's
healer?
a healer. It's a healer
Right.
in
'Cause
Spanish.
where are you from again?
I was born in Texas, but in Texas they have like the majority of like 80% from Latin America,
Okay,
which is
right.
why
Okay.
that the wall and all that. So my heritage is Mexican and
Right.
Native American Indian. So I have a true mixture of stuff.
Oh, exactly. You touch on big worlds there.
So all of these kind of led, but honestly, that the big change came when my son was born, because then you have this little being that you're responsible for, and you just want to be as, holistic and
Yeah.
natural,
And do the right
like,
thing for him, right? Set him up for
yeah,
life, healthy.
exactly. And I'm really happy to say that he's only been to the doctor twice because I feel like they should be like working hand in hand ideally, but we go to the doctor when you're really
Yeah.
like on your
Yeah.
deathbed or need an emergency or something.
Yeah.
And then you do the natural stuff in the background so that you don't have to go to the doctor.
Right.
I'm proud to say he's so far, knock wood.
You had this passion for so homeopathy, Reiki, so it's stimulating the body to heal itself, right? Is the
And that's
precept.
exactly because that's also why I'm so passionate about the health center, because I think we should learn those things for ourselves. Like we should learn, even Reiki is just a simple thing, but it's like a little gift you have for the rest of your life.
Reiki's with touch, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And it helps release tension. It's really good for stress. So I have a lot
Mm.
of clients that come in when they just too much work stress and you can't stop thinking or you can't sleep or
Yeah.
something. And it's
Can't
really
switch
good
off,
for
right? Yeah.
exactly. That's a really good way. But also it's like really good for self-care. Even I hope my son doesn't listen. He probably won't listen.
Probably will.
But he still comes for Reiki sometimes when he's
Oh,
not feeling
wow.
well. He will ask for it because he grew up with it.
Right. So
Because
it's not some woo-hoo thing for him, but it's something that
no,
he knows firsthand that it works, right? That he feels better
exactly.
afterwards. So then fast forward. So here we have you with all these wonderful things. I think it was homeopathy that I interviewed you on once. And I remember being absolutely fascinated how it works. And I've used it myself as you treated me too. A whole new world there for those of you who, like me, had no clue how any of this worked. But okay, so now we've just taken a huge step, right? We've called this purpose and passion in action, and founding a health center. I mean, it's not nothing. We're not talking about just our own little business. You have a building, you have various therapists who work in there, you have costs, overhead costs. This is a serious thing. What happened on the way to move you from your own practice of Reiki and homeopathy to saying, I
You
actually
know,
want to put it together?
And that was also, I think, probably many people who are entrepreneurs, you're by yourself, you're not in that corporate world where you have
Yeah.
all these colleagues, and you miss that little camaraderie in the
Yeah.
office building,
You're
like,
alone, right? It's basically you're alone.
yeah. And I think, okay, even if you grew, become a part of these women's groups or other groups, it's still like on a day-to-day basis, you're just hanging out there by yourself. Well, that was one thing. I kind of missed that part of it. But the more importantly, the aspect that I was interested in bringing people together is because I know that homeopathy helps, and I know that Reiki does this, but I also know, I'm smart enough to know that it's not the one end all be all, like
Yes.
you
Yes.
need the nutrition part, you need the physical. So there's like all of these aspects. And I find it, like now collaboration is like a big word in, many, many circles, but a true collaboration, that's exactly what I was looking for as well, like of the body,
Yeah.
because it takes all aspects. So even sometimes you could have a good homeopathic remedy, but it's not making a change in there because maybe something in their diet or,
Right. And we are holistic. I think something that we have moved towards, pretty strongly in the last 10 years is the idea that we need to look at the whole, right?
exactly. It's not separate. Even the mind, sometimes
Right.
will come in and they're like, oh, I have this, whatever it is, anxiety or whatever. But sometimes they're so disconnected with their body and their mind, they don't realize that sometimes, oh, they might just have like indigestion or whatever it is.
Right. And I
It's
mean, I think
not
we've all learned that recently. You go there because you've got a problem with your shoulder, and before you know it, it's actually something wrong with a totally different part of your body, but that you're compensating with your shoulder or you're storing the stress in your shoulder. And I love that idea. And I think, to be honest, for lots of us who maybe for years go, even to a doctor or something, often I think, yeah, but what about this? And couldn't my stress in my jaw be related to the fact that I've got some stress now behind my eyes and that I have digestive problems? But they seem to want to know just the symptoms for the one thing, whereas I'm thinking, well, maybe that isn't actually the problem. Maybe that's the byproduct of the actual problem. And I find it just so reassuring because everybody's just, even doctors obviously, are also just looking in the dark. They're trying to put symptoms together to what their training has told them it could be, but we are still all guessing. We don't see what's inside. And to have a center like that. So your idea was you wanted collaboration, and you knew that even though what you do, as in Reiki and homeopathy, is extremely powerful, there are sometimes other tools which can work perfectly well in balance, but still within the natural health arena, right?
exactly. And the other aspect is sometimes, it's like when you go to the doctor, there's just a lot of people going to the doctor and you get like 5 or 10 minutes with them and then
Yeah.
next. And I also think that people need that space to be heard.
Mm.
And even when they're in that process of explaining how they feel, how they came to be. I had somebody in there the other day just suffering from, it was grief. But she didn't come for grief. She came for IBS or something. And I said, well, when did it start? And she says, well, it started when I was 21 or 22. And what was going on around that time? And she's like, actually, my best friend suddenly died within a week. She was diagnosed with leukemia, and like by Friday, like Monday and Friday, she was gone. It was so shocking to her system. And then the following week, somebody else passed that was really close. So she was really suffering from grief, and it was manifesting as a symptom in her
Yeah.
stomach, and so
And
those,
that you get through asking questions. And as you say, usually, I mean, I'm not knocking down doctors at all. Thank goodness that exists and the way that they do it as well when that's needed. But there's no way that you can explain all of that in a 5-minute consultation.
no, exactly. You wouldn't know. I think doctors are better about this these days. They're not quickly just handing out
Yeah.
antibiotics and things. But in the past, they used to just be, oh,
In
but
doubt, give them antibiotics and it'll kill everything, right?
yeah, yeah, but
Yeah.
it truly is killing even everything inside, like all the
Yeah. Yeah. The
bacteria as
good
well.
stuff. Okay, so you had this idea, and if I remember well, you had even dreamt about it once, years back, getting into the woohoo stuff.
Yeah, I was at some seminar or something and I thought, oh, I don't believe in this sort of weird, it was some sort of psychic. And he says, oh, one of these days you're going to have a health center. And I'm not even, a homeopath at the time. How is that going to happen? And somehow, here it is. But I get a lot of dreams. I listen to my dreams, but sometimes they're having to do with the movie that I just watched.
Yes,
But
yes.
sometimes you have like, I mean, I dreamed when I was
There are
pregnant.
messages, right?
Yeah, there are little
There are
messages.
messages.
And one of them was that I was like, I didn't know it at the time. It's only looking back, I was already in the center. And actually, when I think back, the dream looks very similar to how my center is, like very light, white, lots of people. It was a very happy and calm place. So I didn't know what it was at the time, but now when I look back, I'm like, oh, that
I
was
know.
health center also in my dream.
We could have a whole episode about that as well. It's being receptive to signs. It doesn't mean we have to throw everything out the window just because we dreamt that we were going to be whatsoever, but there are common signs who point in that direction over our entire life. And as you
Exactly.
say, it's easy afterwards to look back and say, oh, but this brought me to that, and this brought me to that. I have that too. My life sometimes looks like a whole firework of different things because I'm multi-passionate and I need different aspects of work, let's say, to fulfill me. But it's actually all leading towards one thing in particular. We are talking about, for people out there who are listening, I mean, of course, we natural remedies, that's one point of this, but it's also how you took this idea, because lots of us don't. This is what I'm getting at. We're talking about this happened, after 50, that you didn't think, oh, well, there we are. I had once thought that, or, oh, wouldn't it be nice if somebody would create something where there would be different therapists so that there could be a menu for what suits this one best, depending on various things. How on earth did you make that jump to actually investing? It's a huge risk you take.
It is a huge risk. I have to actually say, I'm very grateful that my husband also supports my work because
Right.
even though I was earning my own money before my son was born and all of these, and we've had our own little investment on the side. And it could have, if he didn't believe in the natural medicine side, I don't think we
Yeah.
would have been able to, have said, okay,
Yeah.
it's both of our money and not just mine. So I feel very grateful and lucky for that
Yes.
side of it.
And you need that, right? It's on your own. It's even more daunting, let's say. But I believe you would still have done it because your passion and your determination was so big. But so if we're talking about other people out there, as you say, you've thrown yourself into a new world where there's also responsibility, because most of us entrepreneurs, yes, we miss, or entrepreneurs as in solopreneurs, we miss the interaction with others. It is lonely. On the good side, then we have no obligations, right? We have no staff or huge rentals or things like that. We're also safe in our little world. So there's good and bad in both. But what did you say to yourself? What tips would you have for anybody else out there who, instead of thinking, oh, retirement's coming up and I should just do nothing or wait and see every day what it is I feel like, but who says, there's more in me. I know I haven't fulfilled what I want to give. How did you make that step?
I think, it's so funny because for some reason, I never had a doubt. I never had a doubt that it wouldn't be like that, that it wouldn't work. And the reason is because it worked for me. Like natural
Right.
medicine, I saw that it was a powerful thing, and it's like we have such a reliance on other people for our health. And actually,
Yes.
we need to take responsibility for
Oh,
our own
I
health.
love that. Yeah.
I was always wondering, why don't they teach this in school, for example? Like
Yes.
basic
Yes.
little remedies that you could use. Like, arnica, everybody knows that. It's sold at the store, but you could make your own tincture if you just, I mean, even if you Googled it, you could make an own arnica
Yeah.
tincture. But we've forgotten all those little tools that our
Yeah.
ancestors knew.
And I think we are waking up to it because there's more and more concern about all the extra products that go in, all the crap we're putting in our body. We have a society with a lot of chronic illnesses and it's only getting worse. I'm not saying there wasn't cancer and all of that before. There's obesitas and the type 2 diabetes. And there's a lot of things which are also symptoms of our society. And that is, what we put in
Absolutely
our
right.
bodies, the environment around us. And we need to try and help our body to put it back into its natural state because in itself, a miracle. Our body knows how to cure us when it's not busy fighting all the rest of the crap around us. Then its energy is depleted because it's having to cope with the rest. So anyway, you decided, okay, then it will be The Hague, then I need a building, then I need to find who else is going to be in there, how am I going to finance it, how am I going to spread the word?
That was also a collaboration that was really, really grateful. Like, well, you were part of that in the very beginning, helping me kind of feel my way because I didn't live in The Hague. Felt really passionate about it. It's kind of like when something draws you.
Yes.
And it's also having learned to listen and feel my way in. It sounds a little crazy, but
Yes.
we have kind of disconnected most people. They don't listen to themselves often enough.
Yes.
And all of these little things, it almost like they fell into place. When I was trying to do this and I was trying to get partners and I was trying to find the right partners, and that's also difficult, putting the finances together and putting this together and
Yeah.
and then your values have to really align.
Yes.
And then you have to both be in the right time commitment, like everything has to fall. So when I kept hitting a wall when I was trying to partner with people, not because they weren't good people, but just because something didn't work out or this didn't,
Right.
something wasn't aligning. And then all of a sudden, I actually walked into the center looking to buy a piece of furniture. I thought, oh, I don't know, this looks a little dumpy when I went to go see the place itself. But somehow I drove into the street and I'd never been on that street before. And I thought, well, it feels pretty good here. And then I
Yeah.
walked into it and it was like red floor and blue this and purple and pink. And I was like, oh my God, there's so much work that needs to happen before it can really feel like what I
Like
visual.
your vision. Mm.
Yeah. So that took a lot of work as well and a lot of money and time and like we didn't buy any new clothes,
There
any
are
trips.
choices to be made, right? Yeah, you really made choices. You were so passionate about this vision that you knew that choices need to be made.
Yeah. And so it was quite a sacrifice and you don't even, again, when I'm looking back, I'm like, wow, we didn't do this. We hardly went to visit the family.
Yeah,
We didn't
yeah,
take a holiday that year. So it was a lot of little sacrifices, but still that whole time, I really felt passionate about it because
yeah.
I knew that this is something that people need, like
And now
people.
you look back, you've just celebrated, she's just celebrated her 1 year anniversary. Maybe because I do want to go into the three practical tips because we're approaching the end. But just say rapidly, what do you have nowadays? What is the Hague Natural Health Center?
So we, of course, have homeopathy, Reiki, acupuncture, reflexology, Ayurveda, Gestalt therapy, nutrition. I forgot, there's some energy counseling, and then we have coaching as well and family constellation. So we have quite a nice
You
diverse.
have a huge and you have a wonderful community, right? You have these walk-in evenings, special sessions.
Monthly living room chats, we call them, because it's a small little intimate space, but people come in with real questions about ADHD or burnout, or this month we're focusing on men's health because I'm also passionate about that because,
Yeah,
women are really good about going out there and doing something for themselves, but men are kind of like, it's okay,
yeah,
tough guy.
yeah. And all prostate issues, etc.
Exactly. So we're
It's
focusing.
also a bit taboo, they don't really know how to talk about it, so it makes it harder for them to also find the support they need. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, and especially also the burnout, because men
Mm.
sometimes, women, again, we're easily making friends because when the
And
children are
sharing our
sharing.
vulnerability, right?
Exactly. And the men they're just mostly stereotypical, I know, but they mostly work. And then when they come time to retire, that's why they hit the
Yeah.
midlife crisis.
So how wonderful to have that. And it's very low key, as in people can just wander in, and then if they're interested in taking it further. I mean, I really, it's amazing what you've done. And as you know, I share it with as many people as possible. Right. Now, for those who are not in The Hague and not, able to come and actually see for themselves what it is that you offer and how it can serve them, their families, because it's also you do families as well, you do children.
Yeah.
What if I asked for three practical tips for people listening? What would you have in mind?
Well, the first tip I would highly recommend is that people really underestimate the value of I realize I have a health center and it's not just a push for the health, but you underestimate the value of your own self-care routine because
Right.
you can't really hold your
Yeah,
business if you're not taking care of yourself. Like,
exactly.
if you're not feeling well mentally or physically, there's no way you would have the
Yeah.
stamina or anything to be able to do something like that. Even I sometimes like feel a little tired and I think, okay, I really need to take a break.
And it's hard because at the same time, it's got to run itself. You're responsible, right? It's yours. It's your clinic with all the collaborators. But yeah, but it is that. Again, it's listening, right? Listening to the science. And we're talking about a 50 plus audience. We do have less stamina and less energy
Exactly.
for these huge ventures.
So it's even more important at that time, and because it can't be successful if you don't take care of yourself.
Yes,
It's like in the airplane where they tell you to put the mask before you helping.
right.
So that's really important in having your own business or starting something new, just to make sure that you have that routine
Yeah,
built in to take care of yourself and to value that part of it. But also the support system. Like I'm really grateful to the women that I did yourself included, but like a nice little collaboration who also are passionate or excited about these things that because they believe in it just as much as you
Yes.
do, you know? And sometimes it's helpful when I'm really tired or stressed or something and to talk to one of the friends and remind
Yes.
you, okay, it's
Yeah.
okay.
And we're not talking about it was all smooth sailing. No.
No, yeah, you have
No.
those moments when you're like somebody needs to, hit you along the
Yeah.
side and say, well,
Yeah.
don't forget,
Or
this is
even just listen to your worries.
yeah,
I think a lot of women think, well, then they've got to go around like superwoman, indeed, working themselves day and night to the ground because the rest of life goes on as well, right? You've suddenly got this business, but you're still a woman or a mother or whatever. The rest still goes on. So it's how did you involve people in your environment, even like, let's say at home, how can you help me so that I can have, 2 hours rest today or something?
that will, though I went to the other therapist, like when I needed something, I'd go to the acupuncturist or the reflexology and just
That's
get it.
also,
I feel really lucky is that because we could do exchanges, just that even in the community, having people out there that if I have a question, because of course I don't live in The Hague, where can I find this or where,
yeah,
it's like that
yeah.
little community that kind
And
of,
who believe in you when you also have your own moments of self-doubt. And I think that often, with all the best intentions in the world, our immediate environment isn't always the most supportive because they want to protect us. Are you
yes,
sure? What happens if it doesn't work? Is it worth it all this time? And you are over 50, isn't it? And so you also need to have people who say, yes, well, why not? This is a great
yeah.
time to do it.
Exactly. And why not? Like now you do, like you can truly follow your passion. I saved money, I worked hard.
Yes,
And
yes.
now this is what I really like. Of course, the money was better in the corporate world than it is doing something on your own. It'll come later, but I'm doing it much more because this is what lights my spirit.
That's what
When
that
you
gets you out of bed in the morning, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, even if you help one person, like that changes their entire environment, like
yeah.
if they're feeling better, they're happier and the
Yeah,
whole
exactly.
family.
And they'll be nice with other people and they'll also, think of other ways to help other people. I totally believe in that. And I believe it all starts with us, right?
Exactly.
So, okay, you had a
Creator
support
self-care.
system,
And
self-care.
and then also don't forget to be flexible and to be able to adapt, because it's sometimes you're like, oh, this is what it's going to be like this, and we're going to do this, and XYZ is going to happen. And then oops, why, Z didn't happen, this didn't happen. And you can't cry over spilt milk. You just kind
Right.
of have to learn to go with the flow because it's very unpredictable. Life is
Yes.
unpredictable.
Yes.
And actually the reason I like that one is because the definition of health by homeopathic terms is the ability to adapt to change.
Oh,
Like
yeah. Right.
because if
Oh,
you
is that what it is? Yeah.
yeah, that's like the definition of
I
health.
like that.
It's like
Yeah.
the ability to adapt to change because if
Yeah.
you can think clearly like, oh, okay, this didn't go right, well, let's try to this. Or
Yeah.
physically, then you can adapt and move and be
Yeah.
flexible.
It's
So
all the
that
idea of flow, isn't it? Because it's like in our body, when there's a blockage, then there's a symptom and we're not well. But it's the same thing with, of course, we don't control everything. We actually control practically nothing. We like to think
exactly
we do because it makes us feel safe, but we
right.
don't. And it's having that ability, and also say at our age, there are things that don't go as planned or illnesses which come on our path, which even though we've done everything, but it's to then not block against, but why me? And how could this happen? But to think, okay, right, this isn't what I asked for, but what resources do I have in me? What resources do I have around me which can help? And it's then that state of flow where we're not in a state of fear because, I mean, all this is just coming at the moment, but, when we're in a state of fear, we cramp, right?
Yes,
We
exactly.
block, so our body cramps up and stresses up, but our mind does, our eyes
Exactly.
do, everything does because we're scared, right? We're scared.
Yeah,
We're in a safety position, but that's actually very counterproductive, right? We need to think,
exactly.
okay, right, this isn't the end of the world. What can I do? Who can help me? Where do I start? I love that idea because flexibility is, yeah, it's flexibility, it's resilience. I didn't even know that that was the definition of health, but it is when you think that's what our bodies are there for, right? They get something and they adapt to it and they either reject it or they absorb it. And
Yeah,
that's how everything works. And if we were more in tune with that and with this sort of natural flow and harmony, which then isn't just our body, but it's how we see life, how we cope with challenges, how we
exactly. Exactly.
are in
And coming back
everything.
to what you said earlier, it is everything in your environment. It's like who you surround yourself,
Yeah,
what your space looks like,
yeah,
everything, what you put
yeah,
in, like all of that is shaping our environment and our health. And then having the ability to adapt to this coming this way or that coming this way. And it's truly how we should be, not just in ourselves, but in our business, in our practice,
Yes.
in everything. It just
And
flows.
in relationships, I was even thinking, if you even push it even further, it's to not say, what do you mean? What do you mean? But to be like, oh, interesting, how do you see this? What makes you think, that? Then again, there's a flow. There's not one side shutting doors and, glaring at the other side. And I think we'd have a lot more peace in the world. Maybe we should invite a few world leaders on next time. Again, it's that idea of not being rigid, like you said, not being tense, but that doesn't mean we have to let everybody walk over us.
No, no. But of course, and also because we're human, we're going to experience those moments. But it's the key is not to get stuck there. Because when
Right,
you're stuck,
exactly,
that's when the
exactly.
disease and everything. But it's normal to be in, oh, something scares us because of this,
Yes.
you
Or to
know,
be angry or to be sad,
exactly.
to cry. And I think, yes,
No.
that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I wasn't at all meaning that we should,
Yeah.
push those feelings away or ignore
Yeah.
them. No, we do. But indeed, the thing is to not stay there, to think, okay, that happened. Didn't want that. That really hurt. I wish it hadn't happened. But now what
Yeah.
can I
And then
do?
experience the
How can
emotion.
I take responsibility now? How
Yeah.
can I help myself make it better? And that
Exactly.
then makes us then when we have that sort of mindset, we can cope with anything because, as you said, we don't know what's coming on our path. I might have terrible news within half an hour. I might fall down the stairs on the way out. None of us knows. So we need to have that belief in ourselves that whatever happens, we'll cope. Maybe
Yes.
not on our own, but with help, with
Yeah.
advice, with the right
And we always
remedies.
have the right people around us, usually, as long as we're constantly, because you do attract similar,
Mm.
energies and so usually there's somebody there that helps and supports and this and surrounding ourselves with the right people when you're in health. And then when you're out of health, then you have
Know
that.
who to turn to, right? And
Exactly.
it's all that ikigai idea, right? That we need
Exactly.
community, we need people around us. We're human beings, we are collective beings. Sandra, thank you so much for this. I mean, it started off about being about purpose and passion in action, and no age is too late to really create the dream that you want, and the how and the mindset and these wonderful tips about how to do it. But it's more than that. We've also talked about our bodies, about our mindset, about how we can thrive. And from that point of view, I do honestly believe that the 50s are our golden years. I mean, I'm not saying that the 60s won't be, they might be. I'm not there yet. But all I can experience is that now we do have more knowledge. We do learn to tap into our inner knowledge more and to listen to the science. The science have probably shown us already. We're starting to understand where we're going for our better good and the good of all those around us. There is so much that we can do when we move into that ease and respect our bodies. I think that's also super
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. And honor our values and our heart, really.
Yeah,
Follow your
yeah,
passion in your heart, I think
yeah.
is most important.
Thank you very,
Thank
very
you.
much.
Really nice
Lots of
chatting.
words of
As
wisdom
always.
here,
Thank
lots of
you.
tips here. I hope people will, if in doubt, re-listen to it again. For anybody, of course, who's in The Hague, Sandra has this amazing natural health center. Do any of the therapists do things online as well?
Yes,
They do.
I do some
Okay.
things online and
And I'll
some.
make sure that all the links are in the show notes as well. But this is about really embracing all of who you are, all your dreams, which can still, with the right conditions, be brought to life, and to respecting and taking care of our bodies, our vitality, whatever we're doing in life. So all the very best to you. See you this
Thank
time
you.
next week. And
You
Sandra,
as
thank
well.
you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.